I didn't get this memo. I need to stay with it.
Hello, we are live. This is Josh.
This is Mr. March.
And hold on, we got that.
And
we got
Chance.
Blinkies.
So dark. So dark.
Wow. What are you drinking? It's so dark.
Oh, it's Guinness. I'm drinking Guinness.
Was that from your all-day Guinness party the other day?
Oh my God. I watched football and drank Guinness all day. It was fantastic.
Well, hello everybody who might be watching us either live or later on pre-recorded. I'm Josh. This is my wife Jen. Online we have Kenny from Chicago.
Hey, go Cubs.
We've got hello. We got Bryan from San Fran, Cali.
Hey. Good.
And we got Mr. Andrew H from Orlando.
And I will also say go Cubs because they're on a roll. Let's see the big World Series win.
Well, not after last night. Not after last night, they're not.
My Giants over here.
It's funny.
They won the World Series too many times, Bryan. You don't even like baseball.
It's an even year.
guys-
It's supposed to be our year.
You guys crapped your pants the other night. What happened? Anyway, that's enough baseball.
Yeah, I was going to say. So the reason we are here tonight is all five of us have attended Halloween Horror Nights 26 in wonderful Universal Orlando Resort. Some of us got to experience the full event. Some of us got to experience one house. We'll talk about that throughout the evening. But mainly, we got together before the event. We all talked about what we were looking forward to, what we thought was going to be good, what we thought was going to suck. We want to talk now about what was good and what did suck and see if we were right and everything like that. So, first of all, I guess really quickly, we'll talk about how many nights all of us went to the event. Myself and Jen, we went 3 nights. Kenny?
Well, yeah, I went 2 nights. I was supposed to go 3, and a hurricane happened, so I got 2 nights out of it. But I was very fortunate to even get that because, quick story, I had the Frequent Fear Plus, which the Saturdays are blacked out, if you're familiar with that pass. And fortunately, because my Thursday, Friday got rained out, the resort was cool enough to actually lift the blackout on Saturday. So,
Nice.
so I got my Saturday night and Sunday at the very least. So I got 2 nights.
Bryan?
When did I go? I was there, I think the second weekend, I want to say. Second or third weekend. September 23rd and 25th. Sound like the right dates to me.
Like a month ago.
Yeah. Wow, it was a month ago.
That's kind of crazy. So you were there for 2 nights then?
Yeah. The Howl Scream in the middle on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And Andrew?
I went to Hollow Scream one night, and I went to Halloween Horror Nights for one night.
Awesome. Your first I know you've been to Horror Nights before, but it was kind of your first real
time. Yes, yeah. And my first real time to Hollow Scream as well. I went to Hollow Scream up at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg a couple of years ago, but that was just more so for the rides.
Nice.
I'm proud of you, Andrew. That a boy.
Making progress, baby steps.
We'll get you through a little bit more next year.
Sounds good.
So I think we should kind of just dive right into it. Let's choose houses or scare zones first. Wait, hold on. Let Jen choose because she.
I already made our list in order.
Fine, Jen's
Oh, crap. She wrote the show. She wrote the show. Let her.
She is written.
Producer Jen.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Bruce agrees with me. We should do houses first. Thank you, Bruce.
Oh, boy.
Side note, Bruce, welcome to our chat. Thank you for joining us. He's a guy that we've met on the Halloween Horror Nights Facebook group, and we ultimately met in person down at the event. Which, again, we've said it before, and we'll say it in our video that eventually gets released on another page. Go and make friends. There's always friendly people willing to talk to you and talk horror and stuff like that. So if you're there going solo, don't worry about it. You will meet people. Just go
Absolutely.
and scream, and you will find somebody, including crazy people in wheelchairs that try to run everybody over. But that's a whole other story.
I went solo and I made some awesome friends. So it was a good time. Also, you know who I did meet who was not so friendly though? and I will not be staying friends with. I met Scottie Pippen from the Chicago Bulls.
No.
You
And
guys
he
were
was
friends beforehand, though, right? But now friendship's over.
friendship's over. He was not interested in saying anything. He didn't want to acknowledge me, nothing. I shook his hand, and he's like, no pictures, bro. And I'm like, I didn't even ask for a picture. That's fine, whatever.
Wow. What
Yeah, he was not cool. I will not be staying friends with Scottie Pippen.
Were you
No.
wearing like an MJ jersey? I would have
No.
walked away and been like, "You were second tier." Don't worry, I
So,
won't
yeah.
pass you the ball either.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Let's
houses.
start with houses. The big draw.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, because I decided, was I'm gonna say the house, and we're each gonna say what we originally rated it on August 31st, and what we rated it after we went through the house. Does that sound
Cool.
good?
Sounds good.
to me. I'm bringing up my list.
Okay, the first one is Krampus. So who wants?
Oh.
Wow.
I feel like you did it. I feel like you did that. No, that's not fair to Kenny.
Well, maybe we should get the negativity out of the way first, so it kind of works out.
Okay, someone please tell me why they did not sell gingerbread men and hot chocolate with peppermint
Yeah.
schnapps out.
Totally.
Yeah. Yep.
Whole other story.
Boxed.
I'll go first. I had Krampus expecting it to be number 2, was my most anticipated number 2 house. Turned out to be my number 6 house.
I had it at number 1, and it was actually at number 6.
Bryan.
Yeah.
I had Krampus for Orlando at a 4, and it actually was my number 7 in Orlando. But Krampus for Hollywood was my number 1, and it was actually my number 2 out in Hollywood.
Oh.
I thought Krampus in Hollywood was light years ahead of Orlando.
Video, and it did look a lot better.
Yeah.
There was actually Krampus in it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And they had that
Spoiler.
thing you get a
Spoiler.
special prize if you whispered the code
The
word.
passcode to
Did
the
you
guy
do
up
that,
front.
Bryan?
No, I didn't. So that's part of my problem is I felt like I went way too early in the season and didn't get any of like the secret stuff, and I tried to avoid spoilers. So like after the fact, I found out all these really cool things to get like the postcard from the mailman out front and all that stuff. But
Okay.
Oh, me? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. Yeah, I think I did exactly what Jen said. Yeah. I had it ranked at 1, and it went to 6, and that might have taken the biggest hit for me. That was pains me to say it was a bit of a letdown. By a bit, I mean a
such
lot.
potential.
Yeah.
It really was like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know how they dropped the ball on that. I really don't. Like, I didn't expect that to be a scary house or anything like that.
Right.
It was high on my list for scenic and just for
Yeah.
the thematic elements they could have put in there.
I
And
mean,
it just failed.
all it had going for it was it was a pretty house at times, but there were 0 scares, like less than 0 scares. I mean, Krampus was there, but it didn't move. It was a static, static puppet, and I wanted to see a lot more of the Jack in the Box, and didn't get a whole lot of it. The little gingerbread man spinning around in the garbage disposal was kind of neat, but oh God, I don't know. I kind of expected it to be on the level of, like, at least look-wise, of Body Collectors from last year, and it didn't even come close to that. So it sucks because I'm one of the rare people that loves that property, like the movie. I love the movie, and I just was, oh man, I wanted it to be so good, and yeah,
It
wasn't.
pretty
Yeah, it did. There you go.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the odd time at Horror Nights where something smelled delicious.
Yes.
Yeah. From a look perspective, I mean, it looked phenomenal in Orlando, and I think it looked better than it did in Hollywood. But Hollywood just took the fact that they knew they couldn't reproduce the sets as well, but they added the scares. They added the things you wanted to see from the movie. And I wish that they can just take all the characters and all the props and things from Hollywood, drop them in Florida. That would make a perfect house, in my opinion.
You know what? I feel like the number one biggest missed opportunity for a scare. They had a fireplace, and I walked past it expecting somebody to jump out of the fireplace at me, and nothing even happened with the fireplace.
They do in Hollywood.
Really?
There's a Krampus that comes out, yeah.
That's that little one that's like the animatronic thing that comes out, right?
Yep. Yeah, that got me in that house. And the first scene when you're walking through in Hollywood, I think it's one of the first scenes, has the kid who gets sucked up the chimney. His legs are twitching in the fireplace. I saw none of that in Florida. And it was so disappointing.
I won't dig too much into this until we get to the house talk about it itself, but something where this house, in the California version at least, it did the exact same room in 2 different timelines, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That was how you properly redo a room. We'll talk about Exorcist later on. But
so what's the date today? Do I have time to get on an airplane and go out to Hollywood? Because I want this to be.
Yeah, they're going till November 5th, so we got some time.
I want to revive Krampus for myself here.
You can do it. I like that the Hollywood version has that giant jack-in-the-box eating the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I figured that was a shoo-in in both mazes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Andrew, I know you're kind of quiet there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Krampus was the one house that I really would have liked to have done, but the night we went, it just became stupid crowded, incredibly fast. I think we kind of misjudged how quickly it was going to get crowded. So I think we were kind of done, and by the time we got up to Krampus to kind of do it, we're kind of tired, let's get out of here. It was well over a 60-minute wait, so we decided to pass. And that, I would have to say, I know you guys all rated it really low. That would have been that's probably my biggest regret. If I could have went back and done one more maze, it would have been Krampus.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's no American Werewolf in London, so it'll probably never come back.
Yeah. I went through it like 3 times too, and it just never. I thought maybe I had a bad run the first time, and it never really got better.
Something that Bruce brought up. Did it snow when you went through, Kenny? Because it's when we went through.
I think the very first time it did, but I don't recall it the second or third time.
He couldn't tell. By his third time, he couldn't tell if it was snow or the tears running down from his eyes. It's disappointment.
Yeah.
I wish this was better.
In all seriousness, that was my biggest disappointment. I wanted that to be good so bad. So bad.
I think back on other years, and I try to think if I ever had a house that was rated so high ahead of time and crashed, and I can't think of a single one.
And I mean, it's just so disappointing because we're even thinking of this so far back as to when the movie came out. Like we knew it was going to be a house, and looking forward to it for that long.
Yeah. I saw that movie in the theater, and I'm pretty sure all of my Horror Night tweets were hashtag Krampus from like last November on. So
I remember you're pushing hard as soon as you saw that. I think the night you watched that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That after we went through it, I was like, I don't want to tell Kenny about this.
Yeah. When I sent you the list of my rankings afterwards, she's like, "Oh no, don't tell him." Yeah, it was one of those. Hopefully, it doesn't affect anything if they ever plan on doing Trick or Treat, since it's the same production company. Hopefully I know a lot of people have really enjoyed Krampus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've got a friend who went that was super, super looking forward to it, and it actually stayed their number 1 as well. So whatever, it works for some people. I don't think it was a total failure. I think maybe, I don't know. Sounds like all of us were just disappointed.
I just think it's so fascinating how the same parent company does this event 2 coasts, and they end up being so dramatically different with such different outcomes. Same story, same film, same property.
Yeah.
2 completely different ways it went.
Different creative team, different people in the process.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a big difference like that before until this one, at least, that I can think of.
Yeah.
But, all right, moving on. Krampus is done and buried in the snow.
Zing.
Next is American Horror Story.
Jeez, I think I hated this house.
So much.
Are we gonna do the pumpkin dance?
I am not. If you want to do the pumpkin dance, go for it. I don't even know it. Nope.
If you're watching this and you don't know the pumpkin dance, you really should.
Well,
Because I've done the dance at Rita's Italian Ice, and then yesterday I found the dance put to the American Horror Story music, and it was amazing.
The Dancing Pumpkin is a must follow on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. And HHN Bear. That's a whole other.
Yeah.
I think I know HHN Bear.
He's kind of gone into hibernation, so to speak, but I'm sure he'll be back eventually. All right, so American Horror Story. Kenny, let's start with you this time. What did you have it ranked at originally, and where did it end?
I had it ranked as number 2 because I was very excited, and it is now ranked as number 1. It did not disappoint. In fact, it somehow exceeded my expectations, I want to say. And I say this because when it got announced, and I think when I put my rankings together, I still had only watched Murder House and part of Freak Show. And let me tell you, I watched Hotel, and that blew my mind. And so that being in the house, combined with how good the house was, it just, oh, man. Wow, such a good house. Like, for real. This might be... Because I'm still a newbie. Last year was my first year. This is probably my favorite house I've done, actually. Like
I'll follow up to that shortly, but I don't blame you for saying what you did.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it more than the 25 house. I liked it more than Body Collectors, and that's saying a lot. I didn't know that I would get a house this year that would top those, and it did. So, I wanted to see Ma Petite, and Ma Petite was there, and it won my heart from that moment on.
All right, Brian, let's go through your ranking, and we'll group back to like detailed kind of description. So
Yeah.
where did it end up?
Yeah. Well, I don't think we mentioned the fact that I also went to Hollywood before as well. I think we skipped over that fact.
My apologies.
No, that's fine. I did Hollywood on opening weekend, which we'll get into that story later. That was a mess. But in Hollywood, American Horror Story, I had originally ranked it as number 2, and ended up being number 4 on my list, so not too far fallen. And for Orlando, I ranked it at 2, and it ended at 2. So it was exactly where I expected it to be.
Okay.
Nice. Still respectable.
Andrew, we tried to get you into this house. We tried to tell you how.
So the best part about this house was while we were waiting in the holding area, before the event was even open, before the park was even clear, it was already posted like a 20-minute wait. Like, there was no one even in line for this.
Yep.
And just to tell the story, I did not go in it, never saw the TV show, movie, whatever it is. Did not go in it. But I will say, as everyone ran to that like madhouse, I tried to walk towards Rocket. The security guard's like, "No, you can't go this way." And I was like, but I see people on the other end of Minions, like right there. I was like, I'm just going to Rocket. Nope, park opens at 6.
That is such...
What time is it? Oh, it's 6:10, buddy. I guess the park's not open yet. So, but they were one of the first people in line for American Horror Story. The line's so long because you have to walk through all those damn queue. I waited 5 minutes for the security guard to figure out the park was actually open. Went and did Rocket, had a whole train to myself, rocked out to some U2, got up, and I still beat them out of the house.
That's because that was the only time they made us go through the empty
Oh my
queue.
god.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, really?
I
The whole
got my
thing?
dance break during that time.
As Jen's talking about her rankings of the house, I'll see if I can bring up it's a really quick time lapse, so you might not notice it, but I filmed the entire queue time
God
lapse.
damn. By the way, Andrew, that was such an Andrew story. Horror Nights opens, you're in a holding pen for American Horror Story, and you go to fucking Rip Ride Rocket.
I
Had to
don't know
myself.
which is scarier.
You get a Zen ride on that.
The best is just the security guy who I tried to walk, and he's like, "No, this park's not open yet." I was like, "I see people over there. You're letting people into the house here. It opens at 6." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." I look at my phone. I was like, "Actually, it's 6:10." He's like, Oh. I guess they haven't opened it yet. Okay, buddy, just keep making the rules.
So I'm gonna lock it on our screen for a second and try to attempt to play this. So it's gonna go really fast. They literally made us walk the entire queue.
That's insane.
And Jen was dancing during it, but yeah.
That's why it was a 20-minute posted wait already.
Yeah, it took 20 minutes just to get to the entrance of it.
We missed the first group.
Oh, yeah.
The first cast.
By the time we got there, because they put the cast in the house, I think, at around 5:30. By the time we got into the house at about 6:15, they were already doing a cast. They had already done the first cast change of the night.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was a noticeable difference between A and B cast.
Yeah, the casts are completely different in Horror Story. I can't speak for other ones, but for Horror Story, because we know for a fact we got both. The first cast was so freaking good.
Let's do our review,
our
things, and then we'll go back to a more in-depth.
You had it at?
I had it at number 4 originally. I can't remember. I don't even think I had finished watching the show when we first did this, or even watched any of it.
No.
But now it's at number 1. I wish I could put it higher than number 1.
Yeah.
After the first time I went through there,
Yeah.
Like, we walked out and Josh was like, "Are you okay?" Because I was curling the whole time. I was like, "Oh yeah!"
Yeah, it was kind of an intense experience the first time we went through that. I had it at number 3 going into the event. It definitely ended up number 1, and I concur. If I could put it at a higher ranking than number 1, it would be. And really quickly, Owen, you're mentioning 6:30 as cast B. This definitely cast change was before 6:30.
Because we saw them switch out one day at 6:15.
Yeah, it was definitely at 6:15. It was not 6:30 this time around, at least. Maybe other days, but not that time.
My understanding is they usually do 45-minute sets.
Yep.
Cast day in time, I believe, is 5:30, which never made any sense to me, but I kind of get it, I guess.
If they clear early, I mean, because I think they turned on the music and everything at like 5:45, and then we're like, "Oh, we're going!" And then it was like a half hour of the last couple of people in the park to leave.
I felt like we got it in at 5:30 on Thursday, though.
5:45.
Oh, okay.
On the Thursday we went, the maze opened at 5:35. So, but let's get into details on this super uber mega house. When Mike Aiello tweeted out way back in the day that there was going to be an Uber house, speculation started, and for
what do you mean by Uber house?
Uber house is always.
It's when you have to request on an app.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's Uber and Uber X. This might be like Uber double X. I don't know. But yeah, basically Uber means it's their largest house of the event. So I think it was 2 years ago, or was it 3, with Walking Dead when they started doing really crazy sized houses.
Yeah, it was, I think, 2 years ago.
Right? So every year now they have what they call the Uber house, and that is the one that typically takes about, I'd say, at least 6 to 7 minutes, give or take, to walk through, depending on crowd control.
Yeah.
So
it's massive.
Yeah, extremely
massive.
This property has been something they've been fighting for ages. They told us about it on the when we did the Unmasking the Horror tour, which luckily we got to do American Horror Story as part of. Unfortunately, no pictures, but it was very, very cool. And yeah, how
much is that tour?
What was it?
More than you could ever know.
I think
we just spend the money.
$666.
It's one of those you open your wallet and throw all the money at them and just don't ask any questions.
I'd be curious to go on that, I think.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
$79 or $89, something around there.
Oh, okay.
And it was 2 hours long.
And you don't have to have admission to the park.
No.
Or
is that right? Really?
You don't need admission to the park for that. They will, and especially now. Initially, you used to go to guest services. Now you go to, at least this year, you went over to the Nickelodeon studios where they were doing the repository. You would check in there. They'll take you through the houses, and then basically anybody who's got a pass, all right, go back in. Anyone who doesn't, bye-bye.
Wow. Yeah. See, okay, so that's really smart because one of the Orlando United guys I saw Saturday night was doing an RIP tour, this past Saturday night, and I know he's got the blackout on Saturday, so that makes a lot of sense. Just go the nights blacked out and do the RIP tour.
Well, this is different. This is the Unmasking the Horror tour, not the RIP.
Oh, okay.
RIP tour. You still need. I don't think that includes admission.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's the one during it. So like
It's during the day.
it's
like
during the day,
10 a.m. and then
Oh,
p.m.
something like that. Yeah, 10, yeah.
Eh.
So,
still worth it.
so
Cool.
everybody's highlights from the houses, from that house in particular. Anything anybody wants to talk about? that they love?
Yes. The bed scene at the very end, that dude coming out of the bed.
Yes.
Oh, that blew
Really
my
good.
mind.
He's
Yeah.
better in Orlando than Hollywood, we noticed. Because
Yeah.
we watched the video. What do you think, Brian? Because you saw it.
I think the opposite, actually. I think it reminded me more, because in Hollywood, he's got a mask.
Yeah.
And the mask matches the opening scene from the show a little bit better, I think. But he got me a couple of times in Hollywood. He didn't get me in Florida.
Yeah, he didn't scare me, but he looked really awesome.
To me, in Orlando, he worked more as a distraction because that's when what's her name, Sally, jumped him.
Mhm.
So he was more of a distraction than I think supposed to be a scare.
The first time we went through that, I was so engaged in him. I turned around, got so scared by her. I literally thought it was Sarah Paulson. I was like,
What the hell's her name again on the show? It's a drug reference. Oh, Hypodermic Sally. That's it.
Mhm.
Right, I can remember.
That's another good point about the house is the characters looked stunningly similar to the people in the show.
Three
Yeah.
in particular. I don't know if you caught them all. Dandy, number one.
Yep.
he was incredible.
Freaking creepy. Sarah Paulson's character.
Yep.
And what was the
The
third?
old maid.
Oh, the old maid.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the old maid was incredible, and also Evan Peters in the hotel
Oh,
portion of the house
yes.
Yep.
with his
There was
crazy
a Gaga
mustache.
that looked eerily
Yeah.
way too much like Lady Gaga.
Somebody tried telling me Lady Gaga was in the house, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think she's here.
Moonlighting at
Acting in
Halloween
the
Horror
house.
Nights.
The one in the elevator was really good.
Yeah. They've had celebrities come in. They had Gloria Estefan as a character one time. They've had Penn and Teller. So
Yeah,
you never know. They'll be after the event is over, and they'll release video and say,
yeah.
"I was there."
I think that just says a lot about how similar they made these people look to the actual namesakes from the show. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah. Orlando did much better at that than Hollywood did, which is bizarre because there's so many
Yeah.
celebrity impersonators out there.
Right.
It's funny because like they mentioned on tour how it's basically just they pick off of your body. Like when you go for casting, you're not necessarily applying for a specific role. You go there, and depending on what you look like, your shape, size, and appearance, they cast you. So the fact that those people went and looked so much alike, and they knew that they looked alike, man, kudos, love it.
Makeup can do wonders too.
That
though.
too, it does help.
And it's dark.
Yes.
Start,
Yeah.
yeah.
Brian's a perfect example of makeup doing wonders. you think that beard's real? Don't let it fool you.
That one picture you posted of you guys from years ago, Josh is like, who is that?
Oh, from what park? I don't
From
know. What,
Legoland.
Lego.
Oh yeah.
Before Brian got hipster.
Yep.
but yeah, nope, you are.
I guess the last thing I want to say about it, the walking through the freak show portion looked outstanding with all the tents and everything, and just oh god, and it was a really big room too. I remember it being just a massive room. That was
You mentioned that you love walking through that. That was actually one of my only small disappointments. And this is nitpicking, fully admitting it. But the mask, the mouth that you walk through, I like what I've seen from the Hollywood version better. One, you have a better view of it, and two, it has those weird antler. I
Yeah.
don't know what you call them,
He
antenna
just-
things.
Went on about the antennas for hours.
It's true. I kind of did.
It doesn't have the antennas.
It's not authentic.
I was too busy looking at Mr. March to
Yeah.
really be able to tell anything.
If you can
so.
tell, this is Jen's figure. She's a little bit obsessed with Mr. March in all variations, and now Evan Peters and overall.
that's awesome.
So good in Hotel. And also, I want to say that I was just so happy that they played my favorite song from Hotel, Terry the Park. I not
Oh,
expecting them to play that song in the
Yeah.
house, and I just
You're-
freaked out.
you're talking about the "She Wants Revenge" song?
Yes.
We actually might be going to see them because they're on tour now.
Oh shit! Are they really?
We'll send you
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm gonna see if they're coming to Chicago. I love those guys. Wow,
They're so
that's awesome. You might have just made my night. I'm gonna check tours right now. I'm checking dates. Yeah.
I want to ask, I felt like it's something to bring up. One of the things everybody talked about was The Purge coming to Orlando, and everybody's like, oh no, after what happened, there was never going to be anything about The Purge. Was anybody shocked at the last scene in Horror Story that they actually included? With, I don't know their character names.
Oh yeah,
What's
yeah,
her-
with Kathy Bates and was
Liz Taylor was
Liz
character
Taylor.
name.
yeah.
About shooting. It's not that I didn't expect guns at the event. I guess I just didn't expect to actually had a gun aimed at me.
two guns.
Two guns aimed right at us. I kind of was a little shocked that they went there.
Well, not to jump ahead or anything, but you got the same thing with Ghost Town as well at a certain point. So
And Halloween as well.
yeah, actually.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to move on to the next
Well,
one.
no. I mean, that's a valid point, though. It was. I did notice a couple of different occasions during the event. I thought that's interesting. That's very interesting, given the time and the location and all that. So
I did not expect it.
no, I didn't either. I mean, it's fine. I'm not going to be one of those guys who, I'm not going to be the type of person who's butthurt about it. I mean, I get it. Like it's a sensitive subject and all, but not to get off topic with all the what am I trying to say? Out at Knott's Scary Farm with the VR stuff that's going on. Like,
Yes.
I think that's way blown out of proportion. So I'm not saying that I'm offended or anything. I was just very surprised to see gun pointed at people in the house. So
I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up, though, really quickly. So, obviously, American Horror Story, this 3-season house, success.
Yeah.
Common sense would believe it's coming back next year. It's going to be the remaining 3 seasons.
Asylum.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
between the stuff that's been going on with Asylum, the religious aspects of that season.
Yeah, and Coven too.
Yeah, Coven. I mean,
No.
a little. I still have yet to finish Coven, but yeah. What do you think? Is Universal so big that you're just not going to give a rat's ass?
Yep, that's what it is.
There was Asylum mental this year, and they didn't change it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't think they have to worry about it. I don't think they should worry about it. 'Cause
No.
I
people need to stop getting offended over it.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay, next house. Good.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exorcist. We'll start with Josh.
Mr. Hall.
What was your rating before?
Exorcist was anticipated as my number 1 house.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm
just
so sorry.
not familiar, if anybody's watching this, there were 9 houses at Halloween Horror Nights 26, and Exorcist ended up at number 8.
Wow. Damn.
That was, actually, no, I thought Krampus was it. No, that was my biggest drop-off.
Wow.
So, yeah, we'll get back into details after. Jen, what was your?
I had it at number 3 originally, and it ended up at number 7.
Brian?
For Hollywood, I had it at number 3. It ended up as my number 1 house in Hollywood.
Oh.
It was so spooky, my lights just went out.
Whoa.
And for Orlando, I had it as my number 3. It dropped down to number 4.
Okay. Not too bad in changes
Yeah.
there.
Number 1, Hollywood. Number 4, Orlando.
Okay.
Who's typing? All I can hear is typing.
I keep looking up all your. Is it really loud? I keep kind of looking up all the things. You're like this guy and horse, and I'm like, well, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Who is Mr.
I'm sorry.
Mark?
I'm not trying to call you out or anything.
Get it right.
I wasn't trying to call you out. I just keep hearing ticking in my headphones.
I'm just
Good
tweeting
imagination.
this podcast.
Hanging out with losers.
So anyway, Exorcist for me was number 6, and it did drop off to number 8. It wasn't the worst, I didn't think, but yeah, I had some concerns, and they were warranted apparently.
What were your concerns going in?
That it would do what it did. I just didn't know how they would pull it off. And unfortunately, I feel like it just wasn't executed very well. I mean, there were good things about it. I just don't think it ever really flowed very well. So some of the animatronics, to say that they were poor is an understatement. Um, Borderline, almost like embarrassing for Horror Nights, how bad some of the animatronics were. Um, like the spider walking scene
Yeah.
on the stairs was like painfully bad, I thought. And I wasn't trying to be like super critical about it, but the guy I was with at the time was like, "Oh yeah, that's not broken. That's what it does. Like that's how it is every time." And I was like, "Oh boy, that's not good." And the head spinning scene was, whew, that didn't look good. When I went through, I only got one walk through this house. I'll explain that in a minute, but the scents, none of the scents were in there when I went through or anything, so I didn't get any of that.
Really?
Yeah, it was odd. It was just really odd, and it was just a real
Anything different at all?
no.
Here's the thing, really quickly, just to interject before you go on. The scent they said was initially isolated to that particular scene in the puke scene,
Hmm.
but that when we did our Unmasking the Horror tour, by that point it had already permeated out the entire house. Plus, if you
Spread.
walked by the exit of it, instantly
Oh,
smell it.
Because we were waiting
wow.
to go in for our tour, and we were just standing outside with the door closed,
And you could still
and we
smell
could
it.
smell it.
So
Interesting.
It just didn't have the effect it should have, because it just went everywhere. So you were neutral to it by the time you got to the rooms with
I
it.
think maybe I was drunk. Maybe I just didn't smell it. I'm not.
many blinkies.
Well, a few too many, yeah. But yeah, no, I only got one pass through it because in the 2 nights I was there, this house, it's a huge property. It's one of the bigger properties, and it was up in the front of the park. It was a very congested area. I mean, it was right between Horror Story and Ghost Town, and then you had The Walking Dead next to that. So it was just a very populated area of the park. It was always super long lines. I got the one run late in the night, and I don't know. I kind of regret not doing it a second time, but I just don't think from what I saw that I would have been that much more impressed with it. So I was never willing to wait that crazy 60-plus minute wait.
You got worse.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that. It felt like it's a house that you can get one run through and really understand what it is, because there aren't that many characters in it. There aren't too many things that you can miss. There's just a lot of animatronics that do the same thing over and over again. So if you at least get a slow walkthrough, you'll see everything.
Yep.
Um,
What did you think about it?
well, I really liked it. But, I thought it was weird, like the hovering one where she was so high off the ground too.
Yeah, the levitation scene kind of pissed me off. Just because, like, Exorcist is my, it's what got me into horror movies. It's pretty much one of the. I don't know if it would be my favorite horror movie, but it's definitely the scariest horror movie out there for me. And she was way too high. Like the one in Hollywood, I've seen clips of. And yeah, okay, sure, you can see the pole that's sticking into her head that's connecting her to the wall. But at least she looks, well, first off, she's moving. And secondly, it's film accurate in terms of, or close to it, a lot closer than what Orlando was.
I felt Hollywood stuck way closer to film accuracy and replicating the scenes really to the T. Every bedroom set looked identical. Every Reagan animatronic looked right on point. And in Orlando, I just didn't see that. Every bedroom set looked different. Like the one with the spinning head animatronic, it was a completely different bed. Completely different. And that just seems so unacceptable. The pacing in Orlando, I think, was way off. I think there was one scene where it was back-to-back bedrooms. I hated that. What I loved about Hollywood's was every single bedroom set was separated by at least one black hallway. And that I felt was the best way to do it. And I thought that was genius. I think Orlando, if they're going to do it again for a second year, they need to copy Hollywood's. Get their animatronic, get their spider walker as well. That was a damn cool animatronic.
I don't see this coming back again. I don't know. I'm not sure I see this returning because I don't think enough people were. From everything I've been hearing, a lot of people were very underwhelmed with it. I'm not sure what the reviews are, what they're getting review-wise from the guest satisfaction.
It was the number one in Hollywood, at least. So I'd expect it to probably come back in Hollywood next year.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking Hollywood. My bad.
I'm talking both. If it ever comes back to Orlando, they just need to do the Hollywood version.
Yeah.
People would love it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say the facade, spot on. Like,
Yeah.
we live not too far from there. We've been there, like we mentioned before. That was really cool. And as we've mentioned before already, we did that Unmasking the Horror tour. Right after they kicked into the no photos in the IP houses, they would allow photos of the facade. And obviously, there was no American Horror Story facade, so we couldn't do anything there. But they would let us, and they showed us kind of a good angle to set up and do the recreation of the Exorcist poster.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. Super little, horror nerd stuff there. But I think Jen's trying to bring up the picture right now. But yeah, the head spinning scene, I kept trying to justify why the room was like that. I'm like, maybe we're supposed to be thinking that this is what Regan is seeing because she's spinning, the room is being altered. I was just trying to justify it.
Yeah, I didn't get that bed at all.
And Jen also did not, I don't know if you guys caught it, Jen did not catch the whole part of when we're supposed to be falling down the stairs.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
I got it after I saw it on the tour and after Josh told me, but the first time I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
It was just that archway of stairs spiraling, and that was supposed to be the recreation of falling down. Which was
that and Krampus both had weird endings to me.
I don't even remember the ending of Krampus.
The ending of Krampus in Orlando, you ended up in like
A gift
a
shop?
mine or something. Yeah, the gift shop. Yeah, you ended up in this wrecked gift shop. It's weird.
That would be really weird. Wait a minute. I was expecting Christmas stuff. This is not where I parked my car.
Andrew coming in for the save there.
Right? Any last thoughts on Exorcist before we move on?
Ouch.
It was my number one in Hollywood. My number one. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, your version looked a little bit better. I don't know if I got the weird hallways and Pazuzu always jumping out randomly, but at least the bedroom scenes were executed a lot better, and the puke scene was definitely a lot better.
Yeah, I got some of that on me. Oh, disgusting.
But I think Exorcist to me is what Krampus was to Kenny. It was the biggest hurt to see what ended up happening.
Oh, single tear. Single tear.
Exactly.
I'll take it.
Okay, now Andrew, wake up. Time for Ghost Town. So
That's my gold.
I don't feel like I should go first.
I
You're
was
the one who said you hated the Wild West. Just tease your opinion. Change your opinion of the Wild West.
I was gonna let you go first. I never said you couldn't.
I didn't say that. I said you. When we did this show about a month and a half ago, you ripped it apart for being the Wild West. You hate the Wild West. It's overdone. Blah blah blah. You like the Wild West now.
I don't like the Wild West.
But you can appreciate it at Halloween Horror Nights.
I like the house, and I got to sit in the set. So I like
Oh.
I like it more.
That was kind of cool.
That's it. So my one and only house, I thought it was fantastic. This might be a stupid question because I feel like it was in the soundstage, so all the lighting was controlled, but it feels like it was really bright in there.
It was a little brighter than I think most normal haunts are because they were trying to emulate outdoor moonlight.
Okay, that's what I thought. At first I was like, wait a minute, is it because it's early in the day? No, it's a soundstage. So I thought it was really well done. Lots of really big sets. I felt like, I always see the video where like this character is like right up in you. There's a couple times you walked around and they were like right there, but I felt like most of the time, like when you're in the big room, they were like 15 feet away behind the bar. Like they were not even close to you, which I liked. But thought it was really well done. For my first true introduction to Horror Nights, I thought it was a great house. The theme was absolutely incredible. I'd love to do the unmasking the horror and kind of walk through and spend a little bit more time. I will say let's see where it's not locking on your screen.
Yeah, lock that in. I want to see that better.
Lock that answer.
It is locked in on your screen. I'll just keep talking. Blah,
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 blah.
blah.
There you go.
No, wait.
Oh man.
Keep talking. We'll all shut up.
Okay.
We didn't see it.
Oh, he wants to say
Oh,
it.
you didn't see it?
No, he
No, just keep talking.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
talking.
You got to keep talking.
I am showing the ghost town pictures. Can you see it now?
So yeah, that's
Yes.
Yeah.
what they call we did the Unmasking the Horror tour. They mentioned how all the houses have facades at the beginning. This is the facade to Ghost Town officially. So it's
And
in
that's
the middle of the
our
house.
awesome tour guide.
What was his name? We mentioned it in our review. I can't remember his name right now, but he was really good.
I have another cool picture of this one. Sorry to interrupt you, Andrew. I wasn't meaning to do that.
One time to talk.
Oh, yes.
Back to the Future picture at the top
Oh,
of the
man.
staircase.
Yeah.
That alone, if we're good, you'll find out what ranking this house is
We have to
for
put
me.
the secondary ranking for you because of that.
And then who else? Oh,
Oh, yeah, and Storyteller. You had it right there, I thought. I don't know where it is. They had the reference to the Storyteller icon, if Jen can bring it up anywhere.
it's kind of
Oh,
dark.
it's really dark. We'll send it to you
Can you
guys. I don't know if you guys can
see?
see it right there. But that was on
Oh yeah.
That's
I
one of the
know.
icons from previous years.
So, I will say the scariest part of this house, which I didn't realize this was a thing in haunted houses, was when you walk around the corner and there was just a Universal employee like this. Keep on moving. I
So
was like, whoa!
I'll say this about that facade area. This is one of the rare times in a house that I've ever found an area that I would love to just stand and hang out in and just watch people come through.
Like have
It
a
was
dinner
such
at that bar.
Yeah. It was such a gorgeous looking area of that house, man.
It kind of gave me some vibes of the From Dusk Till Dawn house a little bit.
Thanks for reminding me. I wasn't there.
Hey,
Thanks.
you're welcome. that was a really cool house, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, anyways.
Well,
that.
I have two favorite parts about this house, specific parts about the house. The guy in the bedroom that comes out with off, that was awesome.
Wait, which one?
None of you guys see that? The guy that comes out, and he points down at his junk, and it's just all bloody. It was just shot off.
No.
Did nobody else see this?
Maybe he wasn't his character.
No,
Ah.
the first room. I had no idea about a guy with no junk.
Yeah, he comes out and he points down at his dick and it's gone. It's just gone and it's all bloody. There's a hole in his pants. And I had heard the only reason I caught it is because I had heard somebody talk about it and I saw him the first time. And then I think it was like the third or fourth time I went back through. He came out of the closet he was in and he didn't really do anything. And I pointed at his dick and I said something about it being gone. And he just slowly looked down and pointed at it. And then he looked back at me and gave me like a head nod. I'm like, this is fucking creepy. This is really creepy. But
Wow.
that was great. But okay, so to be more mature, there was one scene where you're walking through, and if you looked over the handrail on either side, it had one of those infinity mirror things going on to where it looked like you were like 30 feet in the air. Incredible. I love it when they do that stuff.
Not as good as last year's, though.
No. Did you catch it?
No.
Okay.
I did, and it was when I was looking down, one of those fucking goddamn gargoyles got me so good. That was my biggest scare from last year, was one of the gargoyles when I was looking at the infinity scene. So, but yeah,
Last
those
year,
were my.
last
Sorry, go
year
ahead.
I could tell that it was a mirror. This year, I feel like I could.
Maybe because of
Yeah.
the smaller setup. Who knows?
Yeah,
It was still good.
it's still awesome.
What was? Did we already talk about rankings of this?
No, I was gonna say
Oh, yeah, let's
rankings.
do that.
I'm gonna
Oh.
guess in Andrew's case it was number something, but ended up at number 1.
So that's the thing. I believe I don't know I didn't keep a list of what was what, but I believe looking back, if I had to rank them, I think this and Krampus were actually up towards the top.
Because those
So
were the only.
this is number one, and Krampus is your least favorite house, like everyone else.
I would like Krampus a lot more if the line was shorter.
Brian, what was your ranking going into and out of?
This is an Orlando only one. I ranked it at number one. It ended up my number one.
Nice.
Did not disappoint.
Nice. Kenny?
This for me was number 3, and I'll be damned, it dropped to number 4. I just talked it up, and it went down 1. But that's not my fault. I didn't know it was going to be that awesome.
Other ones were really good, not because you did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Very valid point. I don't want to say that I was disappointed because I wasn't. I was actually overly impressed, but that's just how good the other houses were. So that's the best way to put it.
I tell you, I went through the original version of this house in '04 or whenever it was, and holy crap. I walked in there. I think I did this house a grand total of 5 times over the 2 nights. One, it had a nice short line that kept moving, but 2, it was so phenomenal, so detail oriented. I love the rain inside.
Yep.
The sets were fantastic. Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie trilogy. So having a reference to Back to the Future in there made the event for me. This was
But you guys did all these houses. You've done other events. Am I just crazy? Or was that the least scary thing I've ever seen in my life?
It was not scary.
It was not scary.
It was beautiful.
It was that good looking. It was that pretty of a house to where it didn't need to be scary.
Yeah, and what makes a house or a maze to me is a fun line or something memorable about it, and the dude that shouted, "That's my goal!" Every time on a loop, just made it. One of my other favorite houses of all time, Interstellar Terror from '08, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. The opening night team member preview for that one, there was a staff member who was in the first room, and their role was to be sucked out into space, and their line was, "Oh no, space!" It was so corny. That made my number here.
Oh, the space!
Oh no, space! So having a nice corny one-liner like that always knocks it up a notch in my book.
I had it going into it was my number 5, and I came out with it being my number 4. It was a very tough call between my number 4 and 5, but it edged out number 5, which we'll get into eventually, mainly just because of the sets, not the scares.
Okay.
Very nice.
You had it where?
I had it 7 because I just love
Western stuff.
It moved up to number 5. So I did like it, but
Western.
I think the fact that it was one of the prettiest houses and it was an original IP just really keeps. I know it's going to be hard to do an all IP event or original IP heavy event again. Now that it's gotten so big with stuff like Horror Story, Walking Dead, all that kind of stuff, I just want to see more originals. I really do. I know we'll probably never see more than 2 or 3 at a time, but I miss that. I want to experience that.
There was a really cool part. Oh, sorry, really quick. That our tour guide pointed out to us. There is a box
in there
that says JS. So does anybody know what that could be for?
Was that Jack's initials?
That is Jack's initials.
Yep.
Oh.
He said this is actually Ghost Town is in the time frame of when Jack would have been born, so he would have been a baby at this point. But
they still threw back to him, and apparently there's a caretaker reference somewhere in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
That I did not catch.
Oh, I love that.
American Horror Story has a Jack reference in it as well.
They had the mask, the burlap sack over the people's head before they beat them.
Yep.
Also, though, I didn't think the house overall was scary. There was one part that really, really scared me. Every time you walked into the bar scene, and you had the girl at the bar, but then the guy came out of the piano. And I'd even seen that on the tour. I'd gone through it several times already, and even the last time scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. It was so good.
One thing that I think this house benefited greatly from, I talked about it before, the big properties that it was up there in the front of the park with.
Yep.
Really lended for some short lines for this house because it was sandwiched right squarely between Walking Dead and Exorcist. And
The line was like literally right there too.
Yeah, and it was always a far smaller line, which was great. So that
Yeah, I
gave
think
me.
I clocked it on average around 35 minutes for most of the nights.
That's really good considering what some of those lines were Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right, what's next?
Anything else to say about Ghost Town?
awesome.
Okay.
Do it again.
Yeah.
The next is The Walking Dead.
Well, I will jump in and start this off. As I mentioned, Ghost Town was above my number 5, and my number 5 ended up being Walking Dead. Going into it initially, it was my number 6. So yeah, we'll talk more about it shortly, but so I went from 6 to 5.
Mine, I had it at number 2. I was very excited for it because I just finished watching all the seasons, and it just went down to number 3. So pretty much what I thought it would be.
Okay.
It was my last rated. Yeah, it was number 9 for me, and it only jumped to 7, but I mean that's still a good thing. But again, these houses were so strong that I feel like that's a slap in its face, but it's not. 7 was really strong still. Like this house was good.
And we will ask Brian's opinion of The Yawning Dead.
So originally I had it at number 9. I was not looking forward to it. I could care less. If I had to skip a house, this would have been it. And I actually did skip it in Hollywood, just because I can do it year-round there. In Orlando, I actually bumped it up to 8. And that's only because there was one house that was just fell so far on its ass. And
Yep.
Go into that.
Wait.
You.
I'm going to take a chance and say I think I know what house that is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everybody are we all Walking Dead? I know Brian, you're not a Walking Dead fan. Kenny, do you watch it or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. I'm not quite caught up, but I love it. I really love it.
I think that it was great. It was an awesome greatest hits, best of. I think one of the things where it failed that American Horror Story really excelled in is transitions from seasons. This was literally random thing to random thing to random thing to random thing, whereas at least American Horror Story phased you in from one season to the next, which I loved.
That's what I said after we got back. You stole my comment.
Okay, she agreed with me.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's true. I mean, that was one of the biggest gripes I could find with the house. Otherwise, I thought it was great. I loved it. It had some good scares, a lot better scares than some of the other Walking Dead mazes they've done.
But what about
So yeah, I haven't watched the show since like the middle of season 3. So going through it, and the transitions didn't bother me that much because I didn't notice that it was
right,
like jarring from season to season. It was a good greatest hits. Like the first half of the maze, I was like, oh, I remember this from the show. I remember this from seeing it in Hollywood a couple months ago when it opened there and all that stuff. I think they did a good job given the fact that it's the same sets, the same things for 90% of the maze that they've done for the past couple of years. I think they did a decent job of refreshing it. That's all I can really say about it.
What'd you think of the last room, though? Because I know you had some things to say.
Oh, was it the strobe room? No, what was it? Was it strobe room? Oh, yeah.
With all the walkers.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of strobe rooms, and in the Uber house that they did for Walking Dead a couple years back, the last room was just a random strobe room, and I hated it. I didn't get it.
Is that a stuffed animal or the most adorable dog I've ever seen? What is that?
Chance.
That is Chance. He has Chance on his lap.
That's
Kenny
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you totally named him.
He's like, I kept hearing people talk about Chance and how potentially awful her house is, but I don't want to spoil the rest of the show. I had to call. I thought you were talking about me.
But yeah. So Kenny, what did you think of the house?
Well, I only saw the one last year, and it was not good. I didn't think it was quite as bad as everybody else made it out to be, but I think that's because I didn't have the same fatigue everybody had with The Walking Dead. But this house was like noticeably better than last year.
Oh yeah.
That's all I can go off of. But I just feel like they jacked up the amount of scare actors big time. Like there was a lot of scares in it. They had a lot of really good iconic scenes. For only being in the 4th season, I actually like knew what I was going through for probably 80% of the house. So that worked out nicely. I mean, Dale is one of my favorite characters ever. And to walk in and the first thing, his RV was there. That was cool. I almost cried.
I hate Dale.
You hated Dale.
I'm
signing off now.
He's a Richard Dreyfuss wannabe.
But
no, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, just overall, it's a bummer because the waits were so long for this. It's obviously still a moneymaker for Horror Nights. But I only did the one pass through it, but it was so good that I would have loved to have done it again. But even my one pass, I was so satisfied with because it was just that good. So I loved it.
It was cool because you mentioned that scene though with the RV and whatnot. That was actually all part of one of the scare zones. Like that was one of the scare zones.
Oh.
With the projection going on, and then the RV was there. That literally was a scare zone in the house.
Huh. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
I really liked the tent with the projection in it where the walker was eating the person. That was pretty cool. So
that was cool.
There was a lot of really good iconic scenes that was really fun.
I think you mentioned though that you went in there without the fatigue, and I think Universal realizes that there might be some fatigue because after visiting both events, I got an email survey from Universal, and one of the questions that I answered very strongly
I remember you posted
was do you this is now the 6th year that Universal has done Walking Dead in some form. Do you think that this is too much? And the options were like, no, I love Walking Dead, always Walking Dead, all the way down to like, it was never a good idea, and I don't think you should ever do it again. It was a bad idea this year. And then there was like the I don't care question.
I think it was a good swan song if this is indeed the last time they do an annual house. I would very much project that we'll see the permanent house set up.
And I'm all for that. I hope they do it.
Because then that would ultimately mean that we end up with 10 houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does Hollywood beef up their house for Horror Nights, or is it the same all year?
They say that they do. Everyone I spoke to said it wasn't that noticeable. I didn't go through it. I just didn't have the time or patience to wait 95 minutes to go through something I can go through in 5 minutes any other day of the year.
Makes sense.
It seemed like most of the night, other than once Terror Tram closed in Hollywood, most of the time it was a 5-minute wait, but that's when everyone's trying to get all the back lot and lower lot houses done.
Cool. Anything else, Walking Dead?
Nope.
Let's move on.
Move on.
Like Universal shit.
We are.
Moving on.
Next one is Chance.
No.
So I will preface this by the first and only time we went through it, we had drinks from Finnegan's that we chugged in the line because it said 30 minutes and it was really like 5 minutes.
And really, really strong drinks.
I had a Grateful Dead.
I had half of her Grateful Dead plus a beer in the line before in 5 minutes. We had to chug that.
So it was a little weird, but I rated that as 9 originally, and it's still 9.
Same. 9.
I wish we had got to do what Owen had suggested of going through without the.
Yes. Yeah. Owen Disney, who does other. He's in the chat room podcast. Network. He does a lot of Horror Nights podcasts and stuff. He mentioned go through it without glasses. We never got a chance to do that.
Did you have it ranked so low just because you knew it was a 3D house and you weren't excited?
Yes.
But I feel like, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like everyone always poo-poos the 3D house every year. Why do they keep doing it?
Because
It's a gimmick.
Cheap.
Yeah,
Cheap.
gimmick.
Cheap, and it's a gimmick.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was
You don't
one,
have to do the detail to the house.
what, 2 or 3 years ago when they did Afterlife? That was a
Yeah.
really good 3D house. That was freaking amazing. But
I've seen some good ones in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been through. When they're good, they're really good. But
when they're bad,
this
Yeah.
is not one of them. Yeah.
The
I
Black
thought
Sabbath one, that was so good. When they did that in Hollywood a couple years ago.
oh, Black Sabbath, yeah.
Black Sabbath, yeah.
I thought last year's 3D house was far superior to this. This was Chance was odd for me because when they announced her Z Icon, I was way excited this year.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
were. That and Krampus. Damn.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point. But Chance kept falling down for me the more I learned about it. Like when I found out it was gonna be a 3D house, it just tumbled in my rankings. I had it at number 7, and it was far, far, far and away my number 9. Afterwards, I walked right into that house the first night I was there, and I thought that was waiting too long. like I knew right then and there, like that's the last time I'm doing this house. I'm not waiting for this house. Like even if I could walk into it again, I don't know if I would. Like I just didn't want to waste the time again. It was that bad, I thought. So
I just didn't get a lot of it, but we'll discuss a little bit further in a bit. Brian, what was your ranking going in and out?
Going into it, I had it at 5, and coming out of it, dead last. Like
So we're all on the same page. Okay, that's good.
it's that. If I could put it lower than 9, like if I can then rank scare zones and then put it below that, I would.
We'll count the repository. You'll put that up, and then you can put it as number 10.
there you go.
Yeah.
Even though you-
An attraction I didn't even do. I'd put every house at Hollis Scream, and then Chance behind it. It fell that flat. I'm sorry. I love Horror Nights. If there are any of my friends who are in that house that are watching this, I'm sorry. I think you guys do great, but just
Yeah.
It made no
poor design.
I didn't get. I love the facade. I love the fact. Like I want to see. I hope they post that full video online because it literally starts where Horror Nights 25 ended, with her getting arrested, Jack going in the box, all that kind of craziness. Like the setup was great. The facade was awesome. Then you walk into it, and I didn't get what the hell was going on.
No.
There's
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought it was kind of hard to follow what they were trying to do. I did like there was one part in the house where you walked into a room, and in the transition you could hear Van Halen's "Hot for Teacher." That to me that was the highlight of the house, and I hate to say it, but like that's not good if that's the highlight. And I'm with you, Brian. Like I don't like talking bad about the people who put together everything. I don't like saying bad things about the actors. I just don't think it was conceived very well. I don't know. It's a bummer. It really fizzled out after how much I liked Chance last year.
Yeah, and let's be real. I mean, we can all give our opinions. We're not bad mouthing anybody in particular or anything like that. This is just our views. Yeah. You can't all be number 1.
Right.
We can sit closer to the mic.
Sorry, David O. If we got a comment that we're a little bit quiet, we'll be all right here. We'll move a little closer to the mic for you. So
I think we should move on.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much to talk about with Chance. So let's move on.
Next one is Texas Chainsaw.
Brian, why don't you start off with this one?
In Hollywood, I had it as 5, and it was actually my number 6 out of 7, including Terror Tram. So it was my lowest ranked maze in Hollywood. And similar in Orlando, it was my number 7, but it actually bumped up in Orlando. I thought it was a little better to number 6.
Kenny, is your yawning a description?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
He's thinking of Walking Dead.
It was my number 8 going in, and it ended up my number 5. this is a big surprise house for me. I'll get into that in a bit after you guys give yours, but yeah, it jumped up big for me.
Jen?
Mine was originally 8, stayed at 8.
And mine was 4 and dropped to 7.
See, this one's good because we're all over the board with it.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that it's gotten better, so maybe, Kenny, the fact that you went later in the event, I've heard that it's gotten a lot better. So I think that might have benefited you.
The biggest compliment I can pay this house is the reason it was rated so low for me going in is I was really concerned about the fact that it was going to be in a sprung tent, and I didn't like they weren't going to be able to use the real chainsaws, and I was really worried about the audio. And when I walked through the house, by the time I started thinking, oh, let me pay attention to the audio, there were enough scares and there was enough going on and there was enough to look at to where it kept my mind off of the audio portion of it. And I thought that was a really good thing. And it was also a nice little touch that after you walked out of the house, so I guess you'd be technically in the backyard, there were real chainsaws out there. So that was cool. Like, I don't know. And also, like, this house was disgustingly dirty. Like, you walked in and it just felt filthy. It smelled like rotting flesh inside. They had that badass scene with the big steel door that he slammed shut and everything. It was just, I don't know. I was very impressed. I think I went through maybe 4 or 5 times in a couple nights, and I really, really liked this house.
I think that was one of the houses we really wanted to get back into. We only got one.
We only did once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any other time we saw it, it was always 75-minute wait and higher, and we're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But it sounded, yeah.
some of the stuff in there was creepy, straight out of the movie.
Yeah.
Some of the bone chandeliers and shit like that. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. I love that one room when the chick like ran across the room and jumped out the window. That was awesome. Every time I saw it, it was awesome. I loved it.
What did she do?
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, she would like run across like I think it was like a bedroom, and there'd be a Leatherface was chasing her with the chainsaw, and she would literally just jump right through the fucking window. Like, she would just jump into the blinds. I mean, she obviously wasn't jumping through a window, but there was like a trigger. She would hit a trigger, and it sounded like breaking glass. It was really good. Every time I saw it, I laughed. It was great.
I didn't catch that one.
Me either.
Yeah. See, that's the advantage to getting multiple runs through it, I guess. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
I saw the walkthrough of the Hollywood version, which seemed to be part original and then a lot of part 1 and what looked like almost part 2. It was kind of a weird mashup of themes.
It really was. I have to say my favorite part of Hollywood's was that they played the Stars at Night Are Big and Bright. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Nice.
Through the entire maze.
What?
The entire maze.
They only had the budget to license one song.
Yeah, seriously. You walk in and it's like a bar and, it's barbecue theme. It was a very different intro, very different feeling maze. There wasn't any part of it that felt threatening or scary to me like this franchise should. And again, it's, it wasn't outside. It wasn't anywhere where they could actually use real chainsaws. It fell flat in Hollywood for me. It was the last maze I did. I was exhausted. I only got one run through every maze in Hollywood, despite how disgustingly busy it was on opening weekend, nonetheless. And I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it in Hollywood. But Orlando's, I thought the sets were done so much better. They were really, really unique. I loved the staircase, that you passed the staircase a couple of times. I thought that was cool. And there seemed to be a lot more characters in there that were really big and intimidating people.
Yep. I got nothing else to say about it, but that brings up another good point for another maze we have to talk about. But anybody else got any chainsaw comments?
no. The facade looked wow, let me try again. The facade on the outside looked phenomenal. I thought it looked really, really good. Like close to the movie.
Yep.
So
it's funny that tent has now been Chainsaw, Insidious, Halloween. It's been housing the actual house
Which
facades.
house are they going to be next year?
Yes, that's the question. We Halloween 3 maze. If we're lucky.
Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
Still
As long as Silver Shamrock's there.
Yep.
Speaking of Halloween, thank you.
You're welcome.
The next one is Halloween.
That's a segue right there. We're getting good at this.
They practice that all night.
But that brings up the point I wanted to mention really quick. Well, actually, I'll get into it afterwards. Ranking. Where did I have it? My ranking was number 7 initially going into it, and it turned out to be my number 2 house.
Whoa.
I had it at number 6, and it went up to number 2. I really like this house. And we'll get into more of that after you guys give yours.
Brian?
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
For me, for both Hollywood and Orlando, I originally had it ranked at a 6. Both Hollywood and Orlando bumped up to a 3.
Okay.
It was at 5, and it made its way up to number 3 for me.
Nice.
Good stuff.
3-3-2-2.
3-3-2-2.
That's
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
I was
Silent killer.
I wasn't expecting much from this because the movie was just
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's right where I was with my expectations.
and then I went through it. And the first time I got so scared I fell on my ass. And then the next room I ran into a wall, and the rest of the week I had a gigantic bruise on my arm like this big.
Yep.
Battle wounds.
Yeah.
We thought it was because she was drunk.
I was a little drunk the first night. Yeah, so I
Still a
thought it
battle
was
wound.
And then we're like, okay, well, we got to go through it again and just see, was it because I was drunk or because it's actually that scary? And
Yeah.
the next time I got terrified.
Yeah.
And Josh took the video of me after.
I'm going to lock it in really quickly before we go on. But this is the first time this is being shown on YouTube, but don't worry, it will be elsewhere and clear. But this is right after we got out the second time.
Right now, that day was awesome.
So
Oh my god.
yeah, she was legit
There was
crying.
tears down my face. I was so
Why?
scared.
Why?
Yeah, that was not for the camera. That was not scripted. She was legit crying after this.
What made it so crazy?
I think actually, you know what? You should answer this.
There is just a guy coming at you, like, over and over and over
Constantly.
again. Thankfully, Josh learned this time. I need to stand right behind her because otherwise she's going to fall on the freaking ground. But
I mean, you got dumpster Mike, you've got locker Mike, you've got Mike with no eyes.
You got burnt extra crispy, Mike.
Yeah.
Got prison
Yeah.
Mike. Terrible because all the Dementors.
I don't know. I did not expect this house to be that good. They nailed it. They nailed the movie. They got trick or treat references in there, which is
I
great.
couldn't stop saying trick or treat the whole
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Aaron still has yet to see part
I've never
3.
seen it, but I
But-
just keep saying it.
And also, compared to Hollywood, Brian, you can dig into this a little bit deeper, but they handled the explosion and burning scene better in Orlando than it looks like they did in Hollywood. I could be wrong.
A little bit.
Yeah.
The one thing I liked about Hollywood's version over Orlando was heading into the finale, you went through the giant pumpkin head. So rather than doing that as like the box cover out front in Orlando, it was a giant 3-dimensional pumpkin. You went inside and it was like you were inside pumpkin. It smelled like pumpkin,
Oh, that's
and then it kind of transitioned into like the burning stuff. I thought that was really cool. I like that.
So quite possibly one of my favorite moments from all of Horror Nights happened in this house. And so I was with a group, and the girl that was leading the group, when you walk through that first scene with the clothes, that you're kind of brushing all the clothes from, they're hanging on the hangers. I believe it's immediately after that you're supposed to make a left. Well, she made a right. And there's a mirror from floor to ceiling. And because she made the right, we all made the right. And then everybody behind us made the right. So basically, long story short, we ended up bottlenecking up into this tiny little corner. I mean, a good 10, 15 of us just kept piling in and in and in. And all you could see in the mirror was Mike. I still to this day can't figure out if it was a real guy or just like a figure standing there. But it was just Michael Myers with a knife, just standing there. And the girl that originally made the wrong turn was just screaming, just scared to death because she could not get away from Michael Myers in the mirror. It was awesome. We just piled up in there. It was great. That was it was one of the funniest. Like we laughed hysterically through the rest of the house. It was phenomenal. That's what Horror Nights is all about, right there. Those kind of shenanigans.
Yep.
I have to say, you remind me, that's probably one of my favorite entrances to a maze that's not a facade. Is you start off in the closet,
Yeah.
like Jamie Lee Curtis, pushing through, and like the last scene from the from Halloween 1. Oh, so good.
Except when it's soaking wet because it's been raining all night.
Oh, that's
gotta be
gross.
All of the
disgusting.
clothes were wet.
That's gross.
Disgusting.
Saturday night we were there. I know it rains a lot in Florida, but that night was.
It was monsooning. I don't think
It
Josh
was-
has ever seen that. I'm used to it because I
No.
used to live
You guys are like making it sound like a war story. I believe someone here wrote out a hurricane. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you guys are like,
Easy.
oh, it was raining on a Saturday night. Kenny could be like, there was a flipping hurricane that rolled up.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that. Somebody coming to my defense.
Not there.
He wasn't there. He went to Tampa, and you went to
We
California.
were in the park.
So I don't know what you
wasn't gonna mention that part. You don't have to go airing out my dirty laundry on the podcast here.
Well, we are talking about dirty, wet, disgusting laundry.
We are.
This is true.
No, it was bad.
The water was we were just standing underneath an overhang watching the people running through the puddles over their ankle, halfway up their leg. It was bad. And then we had to go do the repository completely drenched. And then after that, we went back and did Halloween, and I'm just like, wet clothes.
Yeah,
Ew.
they had to close the tent mazes for a while, and then they had like dryers in there blowing out all the water from the floors and stuff like that. It was intense.
And we had to we opened Skechers the next day to buy new shoes.
So thanks, Horror Nights. You made us buy new shoes. Actually, Orlando weather, rather.
But two things I really liked about the maze was the guy who said I shot him 6 times, because I was so happy to hear that. Because when we watched the movie, like, it was just hysterical. And then hearing it in there was funny too. And they actually had the gunshot 6 times.
Yep.
So that was awesome. And then what was the other thing? Oh, when they're like swiping the knife
Yeah.
and making sounds.
Whoosh, whoosh.
Whoosh.
Yeah,
That was really
Distinctive
cool.
left and right swiping sounds.
that's like such an iconic sound from the films because it's so cheesy, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad it was in
Yeah.
both versions of the house.
And
There
the
were-
nerd that is I went to the Horror Nights shop, like the store they had there, and they had that Mike Myers mannequin set up, and I had to count to make sure there were 6 bullet holes in him, and there were. So
I honestly, like, I don't have one nitpick about this house.
Oh.
Like, I don't have one bad thing to say about it.
I think it's definitely the scariest house for myself. Like, and for Jen, like consistently, we got good scares every time in that maze. Even though mazes ranked higher, they were ranked higher for other reasons.
Yeah. I'm not gonna argue that.
Anything else?
All right, last house.
Tomb of the Ancients.
Oh.
All right, Kenny, you're starting off.
Oh man. Wow. If it wasn't for American Horror Story, this fucking house. This was only number 4 going in, and it ended up my number 2. No.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, 4, and then ended up 2.
Okay, Brian.
Started off as 8 and ended up actually being 5.
All right, Jen.
I had it at number 5 originally, and it turned out being number 4.
And I had it at number 8 initially, and it went up to number 3.
Mm.
Freaking love this house. Like, absolutely amazing. Kenny, you started off. What did you like about it? What didn't you like?
I like the claustrophobic feel of it. I'm gonna end up just basically repeating what everybody says on all the other podcasts. I mean, it's very claustrophobic, very cramped feeling. It's really cool having all the crap hanging down. And from what I've heard, they've actually dialed back big time on the things, the vines and stuff hanging from the ceiling. Because I guess in like employee preview, it was like way too much of it. It was just way too much. That was the number one complaint out of the house was there's too much shit hanging in my face. But that was really cool. I like that vibe that gave off. And the guy on the stilts that came like around the corner and storming straight at you. Yeah, I don't know how many times. I don't know. It was like a pharaoh guy or something. I don't know exactly what the character was. The first time I saw that, legitimately, that's the first time I've almost ever like fallen down in a house. He scared me so bad. Like I stumbled backwards and tripped over something, and I almost fell down. It was that good. That guy was always every run through the house. That guy was my favorite. That right after that, somewhere right after that, there's a room with like glowing red hieroglyphics and stuff. Was awesome. And it wasn't even just like the hieroglyphics and stuff. There was always at least two, usually three actors in that room, and they were so on point every time. They were very intense, very, very good actors in there. And then Crocolion. What bad can you say about Crocolion? You can't say anything bad about him. Drew the intern tried to say something bad about Crocolion the other day, and I podcast bitch slapped him. And
That's
said,
why he's just an intern.
That's why he's still an intern. Yes. So I loved Tomb of the Ancient. I loved it, and the only reason it's not number one is because Horror Story. I might even go as far as to say almost the same for me is what I said about last year. Like this might have been better than the couple I enjoyed most from last year. That's how much I liked it.
Yeah, Jaquana just mentioned about the ropes. Josh, one of them.
Yeah, so, for those who are watching who aren't familiar with it, all these characters have triggers that they press that will make their lights and sound effects go off. But every now and again, they will throw in what are called GATs, or guest activated triggers. And the ones this year were located only in Tomb of the Ancients. There were two ropes, one on the left and one on the right, that had what I felt and looked like dog tire toys at the bottom of them. They were just hoops that were rubbery, and if you pulled them, stuff happened. If you have not gone to the event, I will not spoil anything. Just go, find them, pull them, and enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's part of that is why I think this didn't end up higher on my list, because I went so early in the season. I went second weekend, again, without hitting spoilers or anything like that. So I'm always on the lookout for the guest activated triggers, push any button on a wall. So Halloween was a fun one. There's a lot of stuff to push on the wall there.
Yeah.
Unless it looks like a real fire thing. Don't hit those. Don't ever hit them. You'll ruin the fun for a lot of people. But I didn't find them in Tomb of the Ancient, or maybe they weren't active that early in the season. I didn't hear anything about them until at least the third or fourth weekend, which I think is when you guys went. I think you went the weekend after me. But I don't know. Overall, there were just so many other concepts that were really strong. I only got one run through this house. I think if I got more, I would have liked it even more.
That's a bummer. About the wait times for this house and Halloween, depending on what nights you were there, I'm not sure. But my first night there, those two houses never got over 20 minutes. And that's why I got so many runs through both of these. And actually, Chainsaw was pretty similar. It wasn't ever more than like a 25-minute wait for me. So that's why these three houses I got more than all the other houses combined. So I had a lot of fun in that back corner back there.
Yeah, it's a good part of the park. When I was there, most of the night it would usually be around 20 or 30 minutes, but then kind of out of nowhere it just ballooned to 70. Stayed there for the rest of the night for two.
That sucked.
So I got the one run through, and then every other time I saw it was at 70.
Yeah.
What do you think with the house? Any major things to say?
I really liked it. I thought it was really pretty.
Yep.
I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah.
How How many times did you two go through it?
Twice.
Twice.
One of the things we noticed the first time we went through, there is that walkway where you could choose to go either left or right, and then the second time they had closed off the
Yeah.
left side. Was it closed off for you, Kenny?
Yeah, it was. Every time I went through, it was closed off.
Weird.
From what I'm hearing,
myself.
it sounds to me like this house was a lot more innovative if you got an early run through it.
Yeah.
The further it goes, the more they seem to be taken out of it. It's kind of a bummer. Apparently, there was a sliding portion of the floor or something, but yeah, that kind of choose your direction thing and the floor moving. Oh, real quick, when you first walked in, it never failed to scare the bejesus out of me and everybody else that when they were dropping that thing on the floor and it was making that crazy loud banging sound, like, man, like you could never brace yourself for that. It just every time would scare the hell out of everybody in the hallway.
Nice.
So that was really cool.
And fun fact that we learned on the tour was that is actually the most expensive house that they have ever done.
Really?
The main reason, admittedly, it's not because of all the sets and stuff. That was it partly, but they had to bring the entire fire system down because they wanted to keep it so claustrophobic. So the entire fire suppression system in the tent had to be lowered, and all the requirements and laws and everything like that, it became their most expensive house they've ever built.
Wow, that makes me appreciate it even more. Man,
That's not a cheap thing to do.
damn. I love that house. I want to see that house again someday. I hope they bring it back sometime. I don't think they ever will.
It needs to be like kind of like Ghost Town, where they bring it back as a prequel or something like that.
And that was in a sprung tent, for God's sake.
Yeah,
That made
for
it so much better. Plain and
for
simple.
being in a tent, it almost makes me want to raise it a little bit more, just remembering that, man, that was in a tent.
It didn't feel like it was at
No.
all.
No.
And
Like
God
when you
damn.
said that, I was like, wait, it was in a tent?
I think I've done like one tent maze. Well, okay, Chance felt like a tent maze.
Yeah.
And what was that other one? Crap. Afterlife, the 3D one that I mentioned, felt like a tent maze. But other than that, like Dollhouse of the Damned, La Lorna, those mazes, Insidious, Halloween 1, none of those felt like tent mazes. They've gotten so good at doing crazy shit in there. It's awesome.
Well, Crocodile.
All right, so we've gone through all of the houses. Anybody have anything else to say about them?
there's one more house that I did that you guys didn't.
Oh, man.
Freddy
Well,
versus
the more
Jason.
that we did that you guys didn't do too.
Yeah. Should I go on about Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Why not?
So originally I had this as number 4 in Hollywood. Actually dropped down to 5, and I'll tell you why. It's not because the house was bad. It's not. It's not because of anything inside the house. It's purely Andrew's given up. It's purely because just their pulsing system, the wait time, everything about their operations for this maze were just terrible. They were pulsing way too many from Express. They were pushing you through the house, which they don't do in any other maze at Horror Nights in Hollywood. And they weren't telling anyone to turn off their phones or turn off their flashlights. So through 90% of this maze, I had these jerks behind me with their phones out, taking pictures and video and Snapchats and all that stuff. But what I did see of the maze, I thought was fantastic. It was pretty innovative, pretty true to the movie and the story. And it had a surprise ending, which, depending on when you go through, and I've heard 2 different things. I've heard it's either based on the cast that you get, or sometimes I've heard they just alternate. But sometimes Freddy wins, sometimes Jason wins.
Yeah, Orlando, when they did that, it was based off of cast, as far as I knew. So cast A, Freddy will win. Cast B, Jason will win. But I noticed that your house out there this year had a lot more screens than what Orlando did, and Orlando already had enough screens for that maze.
Yeah, I was going to say they had a lot already.
Yeah. Which I have no idea what these people behind me were taking pictures of all these screens. So
That's annoying.
Fucking goddamn millennials.
And that's what it was like for most of the houses in Hollywood. Most of the time, people were good and didn't, have their screens on full brightness or stuff like that. But they're totally fine with photos and video through the whole thing, as long as you're not, flashing flashlights and stuff. But here they didn't seem to care, and I waited 150 minutes.
Ugh.
Wow!
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah, longest
Yeah.
wait of the night for me.
That's not good.
That was a really, really, really fun house last year.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Do you want to delve into repository a little bit?
I think we should go into scare zones.
Okay, jump into scare zones. We'll talk repository after or
I think that's
later.
separate.
That's separate.
So the first one I have on the list is Chance of the Scare Zone. I
Both times I walked through it, they were changing. Like I literally start walking and they're like, curtain closed.
You waited for that. Let's be honest.
I was like, damn it.
I thought we lost Andrew, and he got real excited for Chance.
Because I can get back to contributing here. I found scare zones.
So where would you rank that one, Andrew?
Bottom. There was nothing in it. There was literally nothing in it. Both times I walked through it, they literally, as we were walking up, go, and they closed the curtain and changed out Chance.
And I don't know how often they bring them back, because the one
45
time I
minutes.
saw them change, like she closed, but another one didn't come back for a while.
What was it, 35 or 45?
45.
45?
Yeah, like every other cast.
Okay.
I put that as number 2. I liked it.
Yeah, I had it at number 3. It was fun. Some interesting characters in there. We unfortunately never got to see some of the fun stuff with Chance talking. Not surprising, it turned into a giant selfie-taking scare zone, which, again, was not surprising. I love and at the same time cannot believe the joke that Kenny got to film.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
My
I was just gonna try and pull it up here on Instagram.
Yeah, do. If you can bring that up, that'd be awesome.
That was, to me, that very moment actually saved the scare zone for me. Here. See if I can get this to.
Well, let me lock it in on you too, if I can.
Oh, Sprint! Why you gotta do me like this?
What did Cinderella say when she finally got to the ball?
That was easily. I saw that. I'm like, wait, I don't get it. And then I'm like, oh shit, I get it.
Yeah. Like, I can't believe I just happened to be filming her at that very moment when that happened. That was incredible.
That's awesome.
That really that took what I thought was just a total waste of time and literally saved that scare zone for me. That was great.
See,
But,
I got a different experience in that scare zone, because when I walked through it, it was with a friend of mine who used to be a scare actor years ago, who happened to know someone who is friends with Chance, who started calling him out on all sorts of stuff and calling his name and all that. So that was a fun experience to have a really, really personal interaction with Chance. But I loved the girl with the bedpan that was full of crap. I thought that was cool.
That was kind of cool. I did see her.
I like the girl with the crown made out of the needles.
Yeah.
I asked her if I could have one. She said I had to earn it.
Did you ask the obvious question?
She kind of walked away already.
Ah, bummer.
Really fun to interact with them, though. They were hilarious. I
Yeah.
like the mental institution kind of stuff. Just naturally, that's something I just like. I don't like Westerns, but I like mental institutions.
What about a Western mental institution? That'd be great.
No.
You balance it out. She would be she'd be so on that.
Should be indifferent.
The best moment we saw was when Chance was yelling at the girl taking a selfie.
The girl sat on her stage, and she was taking a selfie, and she was like, "Get off my stage!" And then the girl wouldn't. She's like, I want to take a picture. And Chance just walks away.
What did I tell you? More goddamn millennials.
Yeah, it was good.
Get off my lawn.
So what were your rankings, Kenny and Brian? And Andrew?
Andrew said last.
Oh, Andrew's last.
I said last.
Chance,
Actually, I take that back. Second from last.
I
Second.
know what your
we
last
know
one
what your
is.
last one.
You guys are on the same page.
yeah, Chance was 4 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the total of them? It was
5.
out of 5? I'd say 3, right there in the middle.
All right, moving on. The next one I have is Survive or Die. I had this at number 5. I did not get it. I thought that these characters were just not into it.
Where was this?
This was the one that's by
The Mummy.
New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
I had it as my number 2. I didn't think it was scary, but it was really cool to basically walk through Mad Max.
Yeah,
never seen
for
that
sure.
one. That is so.
Oh my. So I have another fun story about this scare zone. Another one of my favorite moments. So I'm standing there at one point, just kind of taking everything in, watching what's going on. I was waiting for some people to come out of The Walking Dead, and I get hit right in the stomach with something, and I look down, and it's like a rubber axe, and I look up, and this guy's running over to me, one of the actors. He's like, bro, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, he threw it right at me, hit me right in the stomach. Like, I was just busting his balls. I'm like, it's all good, dude. So fast forward a couple hours, and I just had bought a beer from like a quick service stand in that same area. And I'm standing there waiting for somebody to come out of the bathroom, and I get hit in the shoulder with something, and I turn, and it's the same fucking actor. Like, no joke, the same actor he was, this time he was like swinging something around on a rope, and he accidentally hit me this time. And all it took, we locked eyes, realized it was the same people, and we just died laughing. Both of us just died laughing. It was hilarious. I'm like, dude, 2 times in one night, like, let alone 1 time you hit me, but 2, it was great. So that was really fun. So that bumped my ranking of that one way up, big time.
That story alone, just hearing that, makes me want to rank it higher. I have it at 4, maybe 5.
Right. I ended up at number 2. I love Mad Max, so when I got some time to stand around and watch it, it was kind of fun.
Okay, good on that one?
Good on that one. We're going at
I'm scared to say the next one. Dead Man's I put this at number 1, but I also got to go through it on a Thursday when there was like no one there, and it was awesome. The effects were incredible. I took a picture and it looked like this guy was legit underwater. Like, they just did so good with the lighting, and all, like, just the atmosphere was amazing. Their costumes were so detailed. I really liked that.
I screwed up my ranking. I said I put Survive or Die at number 2. I apologize. I put it at number 5. It was actually my weakest. It was still cool to walk through that, but it was not really well used. But Dead Man's Wharf, I had it at number 2. For such a small scare zone, it was really pretty when handled properly. Like Jen mentioned, some of the costumes were amazing. The makeup, the UV effects that they used. I don't know if either one of you seen the band Starset. I know Andrew, I think, has, but they have really cool masks that look very similar to how they did it in Dead Man's Wharf. I thought it was a great concept. There's a picture.
There he is. There he is.
That guy was awesome.
I don't know how they did that. It was just so cool.
It's one of those zones I want to see turned into a maze.
Yeah, that would be cool. Sadly, I was way pumped for Dead Man's Wharf, and I was kind of bummed out just because it was always bottlenecked real bad, and the crowds going through there were pretty miserable, but it was awesome looking. Like, it was a really pretty scare zone. And that dude with the scuba diving mask was just incredible. Every time I saw him, it was awesome. So
I got this really close up of this guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
He tried to eat my camera.
Yeah, I had that at number 2 as well. For the size of it, going in there knowing the size of it helped
Yes.
Setting expectations and knowing where it was and knowing how it would be affected by Bill and Ted and all that stuff. I thought it was, for what it was done really well. I loved the fact that they brought a giant ship
Yep.
in there and just blocked the walkway, but I also hated that fact.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I think this is dead last. I walked through it twice, and both times, one time was not a Bill and Ted dump, and the next time was a Bill and Ted dump, and Bill and Ted dumped on this thing. I will say the mask, the costume, the guy with the like light up face thing, that was really cool. Cool 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea thing. But when it was so crowded and we literally could not move, we were in a gridlock. We had to climb over set pieces to get out. I don't know what was going on there, but I just think like it would have been like really cool to see this expanded out in an area where they have a little bit more space, but an already fairly narrow pathway right around the corner from Bill and Ted. Why would you block off 3/4 of your path was the ship?
I love how Andrew swoops in and just shits on anything he decides to start talking.
I will say it was like really the mask, like this 20,000 Leagues guy looked really cool, but I mean, it was just an operational nightmare. I mean, the crowds in that area were just, we literally stood there for like 5 minutes and we saw the security stand and we're like, oh, something must be going on. Like something must have happened. I go up to the guy, I was like, hey, what's going on? How do we get around here? Like the security goes, oh, just wait, it's just crowded tonight. I'm like, all right.
The
Yeah.
problem is, I don't even think what we saw blocking the path, I could be wrong, but from what I could tell, it looked like one or potentially two RIP tour groups, because you had people stuck inside with the
Yeah.
lit up, and they were stopping to take pictures with the characters, which was causing a bottleneck after Bill and Ted show got out. That was probably one of the scariest moments. No, easily. That is the scariest moment I've ever had at Horror Nights. It was beyond an operational nightmare. It was actually just flat out dangerous. Like, it was scary.
But I've heard it's happening
Consistently.
other nights too, so.
Yeah,
It's just really poor play. And I think that left like in all seriousness, like, it left a pretty bad taste in my mouth because like I was walking around all night going, all right, like Ghostown was awesome. The scare zones are pretty cool. Like the amount of people that are in this event, Universal's really gotten under control. And then I see something like this. I'm like, this is amateur hour, at a local haunt. Like I think that was the most disappointing thing for a park that's done it, 25, 26 years. And this was 3 or 4 weeks into it for them not to figure out like, hey, this blocks the path. This is right around the corner from Bill and Ted. Everyone stop and take photos. Like the next night, they should have fixed it, not just So I think that left a bad taste in my mouth of like, this is how Universal handles some of the crowds. I was kind of turned off.
Well, I think with this, what I've heard is it's been a constant battle between operations and design, because there aren't many places for entertainment in the streets. There aren't that many places left where they can leave large props like this because of the parade. So this was something that entertainment and the designers and creative really pushed to have, was that giant ship in the way and all that stuff. So hopefully next year ops will be able to show creative, hey, we need to be able to leave this area open.
What were you going to say there, Jared?
I don't know.
I think she's ready to move on to her favorite scare zone.
What? My favorite was that one.
Not the one you posted a million photos of on Facebook with you and like every character. Vamp 55 or whatever it's called.
Oh, I didn't post a million pictures of that one.
No, that was me.
That's
think-
right.
Same difference.
The next one is Lair of the Banshee. I put this at 4.
Same here.
Now, where was this?
This is the one that on the way to ET. So
Oh, yeah.
remember when
You got some good scares in that one. I remember that. And I think we were walking up, I was like, Jen, there's probably a person hiding in this little like alcove. You're like, yep. And then they jump out and you're like, ah!
Pretty much.
Kenny?
I was just so disappointed with the scare zone because it just like it was the exact same thing as last year, you know? And
Yeah, it was very similar.
so I don't know. I don't want to be such a Debbie Downer about it because I loved it last year, and then fast forward to this year, and I'm like, oh, it's the same exact thing. So I don't know. Like it's pretty. It's really really pretty, and I like when they fill it up with fog real good. They got some. I mean, I guess one good thing I could say, some of the masks that those guys were wearing were awesome. Like really really good, and it's always fun to have a stilt walker walking around. So. That was cool. I mean, it wasn't all bad. I just was bummed out because it was like, oh, it's the same thing as whatever it was last year.
Last year was Voodoo,
So.
right? I think.
Yeah, something like that. So it ended up my number 5.
Which, by the way, can we take 10 seconds? And I started listening to this week's In the Loop podcast, and how you talked about the scare zone at Busch Gardens, the one over by Sesame.
Oh,
With those. I know you were talking about the one kind, but like, did you see those characters with like the gigantic like head things? I don't even know what they were. Like, looked like they were wearing like a bear head on their face.
yeah. Yeah. No, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me just say, scare zones over at Howl Scream absolutely just wipe the floor with Horror Nights.
What did you think of the one back by the Skyride station back by towards Kumba by the bumper cars? It was like it was a very close, small one, like very narrow.
You know what? I think that one might have been closed because by the time we got back there at that point in the night, it was pouring down rain. It started raining real hard. But yeah, scare zones over there were legit. So
I agree. I thought they were better. All right, I digress. Jen, Josh, back to you. J Force.
Brian?
This one, I'd say this is a 4 for me. It's ahead of Survivor Die is 5. This is 4. And for really the same reason that Kenny's saying. This, I feel like in this spot, this is what they've done for so many years. It's tired. I've seen it before from Horror Nights.
They have trees there, so let's make a tree-like environment. Hell, they'd even the Walking Dead scare zone.
Yeah.
Forest area with them eating the deer and Bicycle Girl and stuff like that. So, yep, they're not creating anything really new in that area.
Okay, next one, BAM 55.
Yes!
somebody likes cheerleaders.
I had it at number. Brian.
Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Wait, what?
This is derailed so far. I don't even know.
I don't even know what's going on. Brian, what do you have?
I went into there expecting it to be my number 1, and it lived up to its potential, and then some.
Okay.
It was awesome. Like, this was the one scare zone I actually thought was really cool. It was my number 5 going in, and it's my number 1 coming out. I thought it was cool having all the oldies music and everything, and the cheerleaders with the chainsaws, and it just more than anything, it was just kind of entertaining to walk through and just watch them interact with everybody. I thought that was definitely the best scare zone this year.
Andrew, did you get through that? I can't remember.
I did. I think I really liked it because I think it's easy to do zombies. It's easy to do creepy guys in bush costumes that you don't really know what they are jumping out of trees. Like, it's kind of easy. Like, it's easy to do scary, but it's harder to pull off like innocence. And make that scary. So kind of like what you like, like how you're saying, like oldies music, kind of 50s style, like parade, homecoming floats or whatever. the costumes, like if you didn't see like their face or like, you know, some of like the blood or whatever on their arms, like you would never know. So I think for them to kind of like go with something so innocent for a scary event, like I thought it was pretty well played.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Great music, great sets. Jen's interaction with the ice cream guy was hilarious. Yeah, we'll have video on that online. That was a good one.
Being a band nerd, I had to take pictures with all the band nerds, and then they had a dead band nerd on one of the floats. So I made sure that they were wearing official marching band shoes. So I was really happy with the detail they put into that.
Seriously, she's taking pictures of the shoes. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I need to make sure that they were authentic. I'm like, what? It was awesome.
Good for you. Good for you, Jen. Keeping them true to their word.
And they keep
Somebody,
adding Scare Zone. I was watching clips now. They've got people on motorcycles now going through it.
Oh, that's cool.
awesome. That's awesome.
It was just a lot of fun. And
I just like how we were standing in the Stay and Scream area. All of a sudden, they pulled out this gigantic bus. And, like, the park's still open. People are walking down the path. This guy just pulls up this bus and starts backing into, like, the position. And I was like, and people are like, what the hell? You know, these families like, why is this school bus randomly pulling down the street?
welcome to Horror Nights. That school bus is always on the street.
Yeah, that's a staple.
It's always there.
Right.
But yeah, like the interactions with characters, it was very much like, what was the Scare Zone last year? The Lunatics in Asylum Scare Zone last year.
The one by Finnegan's last year.
The one by Finnegan's last year. It was that
yeah.
interaction. Everybody would talk to you. The principal finding you, yelling at me for having my hat backwards.
You're like, dude, it's my trademark.
The hall pass people have created hall passes that they're going to get signed by the principal or whoever it is, a hall monitor, so that they can have their souvenir. Like, it's crazy. Like, I mentioned about the Dead Man's Wharf turning into a house. Realistically, that's the one house one Scare Zone I could actually see going into a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, perfect. It's vampires in high school. It's like, done.
I kind of created a mini Twitter war between whoever runs the HHN Suns, or the Hollywood High Suns Twitter, and whoever runs Zombie High from Great America Haunt. So I pitted them against each other to see who would win their football game. So far, there are way more Halloween Horror Nights fans than there are.
I can imagine.
But man, I tell you, the hall monitor girl with the red hair and the green dress, she made that Scare Zone. She was, I think, before some of the other characters were really getting into their roles, she found her role. She found how she wanted to interact with people, and she did it. Just watching her was one of the most enjoyable things of just sitting and watching that Scare Zone. She got everybody active and going, and started chasing some of the kids around and like grabbing them by their ears and like pulling them into detention. So it's no surprise that people are making their own hall passes and things like that. People love that interaction. And I don't think you get that in any other Scare Zone. Maybe a little bit in the Chance Scare Zone, but nowhere else. And those are the best Scare Zones, the ones you can interact with.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm really glad we just talked all these through. I find myself actually realizing they were better than I thought. Just having all these conversations. I was a little underwhelmed with them, but now thinking back about it and hearing these stories, they weren't that bad this year. Except for Banshee. Banshee sucked.
The 4 years I've gone, I think this was the weakest for Scare Zones, aside from Vamp.
Yeah.
I think
That's because you didn't get hit with a rubber axe. That's why.
apparently that's what I needed to happen.
Yeah.
I just love how the guy like fell out of character and just had a good laugh with you.
Yeah. There was no at the second time around there was no hiding it. He just lost it. It was fantastic.
So what's next?
So we still have the shows and the VR experience. Do you guys want to talk about it? It's 10 or what?
Or do you guys want to save it for when we join back up in November?
I'll tell you, Bill and Ted.
Compared to the last 2 years, I got to agree. Bill and Ted was kind of weak.
People always hate on Bill and Ted. I always think it's kind of funny. I mean, it is what it is. I think if you like, I think it's. I look at it and go, it's less of them maybe doing a bad job, and more of it is just a crappy year for pop culture since it's all
Yeah.
election based. So give them credit for not sticking too much to election, unlike a certain other park down the road and their horrible show.
Which that gets a double.
I know. So, I mean, I give them credit for trying. I think I was thinking about it the other day, like looking back, there wasn't a lot of that like pop culture crap going on this year just because of, I think, the election. I will say I was kind of disappointed to see a lot of the stuff they made fun of was the Super Bowl. I was like, that was like 9 months ago. But again, I think it's a victim of probably just a boring year.
Poor Coldplay. They don't deserve to be made fun of that way.
I think they were making fun of the fact that Coldplay got screwed on the Super Bowl and only got to play for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, like, I don't want to see Beyonce dancing. I don't care. I'd rather hear Coldplay.
But guys, how many more years do you think we'll have of they have sex with their tails?
I think we got two more. I'm going to go with. One before it opens, because it probably won't be open by next Horror Nights. And then one even after it opens, just for good times.
Yep.
I clearly was in the minority with Bill and Ted this year. I liked it more than last year, I thought. But I think I'm starting to wonder if everybody's getting fatigued from Bill and Ted, because everybody's just nobody seems impressed with it anymore. When I told a few people I thought it was better than last year, and they were like, "You're out of your mind."
I
It
think
was terrible.
the one thing I noticed that I only saw one other time, and it was a couple years ago, but I feel like every single year people are like, it's worse than last year. It's worse. Like I never heard someone go, oh, it's better. But I think like talking to a couple of people I know were like, oh man, that was awful. I was like, well, did you get this joke? No. Did you get the making a murderer joke? What's making a murderer? So like I think like this year, or I don't know, maybe more years too, but like I said, maybe victim of bad pop culture year, or maybe it's just like what kind of pop culture you consume. Like if you didn't see the Super Bowl, that whole like 3 or 4 minute little like skit would have went right over your head. Or if you didn't watch Make a Murderer or Stranger Things, you'd have just been like, eh.
Yeah.
So I think if you kind of, I think you had to have seen some of that stuff.
I agree with that, because last year I didn't get as many of the jokes. This year I got a lot of the references, so I thought it was better.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Academy of Villains?
Academy of Villains.
Might as well.
Holy shit. There's a show that I had no expectations for, and wow, that's it. Wow, amazing. Probably one of the best shows I've seen anywhere, including Horror Nights or other. I loved it.
I'm really bummed to say that, because I had to kind of modify my time down there. I never actually got to do a full viewing of this show, but that being said, I passed through so many times and caught bits and pieces. I feel like I watched the whole show at least twice. But from what I saw, like, it was incredible. Like, it was really good. Like, the very first time I walked past, and I don't know if they were at the climax of the show or what the hell was going on, but like I stopped dead where I was at and just was like, wow. Like, it was really, really impressive what was going on. So from everything I saw, it was outstanding, and I'm really bummed out I didn't get a chance to watch the whole show, but it was kind of a lot it was a lot of time to set aside, I guess, 20 minutes or so when you're kind of limited on time. So next year, I said the same thing last year, but next year I'm really going to do this a lot better. I'm going to make a whole more, a much bigger, grander trip out of it. Have a lot more time.
You're not going to let a hurricane come. You're going to stop the hurricanes.
I thought I was going to do that this time. Didn't happen. I was no match for Hurricane Matthew.
Okay.
Try as I might.
Jaquana just mentioned the guy that does everything is the MVP of the show. Well, we saw a close-up picture of him, and on his shirt, I didn't notice when we watched the show, but it says orgasm donor. And incredible.
Good for him.
And
good for him.
You mentioned about the hurricane stuff. I don't know if anybody saw, but when they brought the stage down for for hurricane prep, they still performed on the street. A modified, like 5-6 minute version of the show.
That's really good.
That's just hands off to them.
Cool. That's actually worth noting. I'm glad you said that because I forgot. That's actually, now looking back, that's probably why I didn't see the show. When I was there that Saturday night after the hurricane and the show wasn't happening, I never caught the street show of it, but that night was so much less crowded than Sunday. Saturday would have been the night that I would have gotten a chance to see it. Um, but Sunday was packed. Like, it was really crowded, and so I wasn't going to take my time standing around watching the show. So looking back now, that actually is why I didn't see the show.
Makes sense.
So, but that is cool. Props to them for doing it in the street.
Try to watch it on YouTube if you can.
Yeah, I'm going to, for sure.
It's really good.
Brian, Jabberwockies or Academy of Villains?
I made a conscious effort to skip both.
You missed out on Academy of Villains. I'll say I've seen the Jabberwocky stuff, and it looks like
I'm just not a fan of dancing shows. Like, give me a show with a storyline and people talking or singing or making jokes.
Well, Academy this year had the tie-in to what's
Shady Brook.
Yeah, Shady Brook. It had like the whole Shady Brook arc to it.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I'm kind of bummed I didn't at least stop for a little bit to watch Academy of Villains. But man, Horror Nights is just getting so crowded that I'm gonna try and use as much maze time as I can get, as much house time.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe next year I'll stop and watch one of those if I have some more time. But only 2 nights at the event. It's
tough.
Yeah.
You need like a whole week now at this point to have comfortable amount of time to do this event. It's kind of crazy.
Well, I used to do Frequent Fear and go 13 nights every season. So dropping down to 2 nights is tough.
I think you can also see Academy of Villains if you wanted to at Great America out there in California. I think they're playing there too for Halloween.
I'm good.
So I think we'll save the repository because I want to kind of go into more detail with that. Really quickly, awesome experience. I think Jen can kind of agree with that. Some innovative stuff, some stuff that they could have improved on. But I think we'll save that for our November show.
The biggest thing for me was it was more along the lines of an dream house than I'm ever used to. I mean, last year's Horror Nights was the first time I've ever done a Halloween event and actually gone through houses. So for me, doing something that extreme was a big step for me, but I was able to do it.
Yeah,
so
it was
I was proud of
definitely.
myself.
By next year, you'll want to do Blackout or something.
that one Brian was talking about in San Francisco. I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, it's run by Blackout, Hell in the Armory.
Yeah, that's the one.
Terrifying. This year they turned it into an escape room.
Interesting.
You have to escape from it.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap it up for tonight.
Overall, we have one more thing we haven't talked about, and that's the Terror Tram.
Oh, right, yes. Go for it.
I'll give a quick review. I thought it was terrible.
Best for last. Jesus, Brian.
Yeah.
Way to send the show out on a low note.
I'll just leave it at that. Operations were really poor. They tried to do like a funneling maze. Rather, it just turned into, as soon as you got off the tram, you were in the line to get back on the tram.
Fun.
I thought it was done much better. Hollywood Harry, clown stuff, that was kind of cool. But
yeah.
I think we should end on a more positive note. So everyone say their favorite thing. Whether it's a house, a scare zone, a show, their absolute favorite thing. I don't know.
I'll go first since I didn't contribute a lot. I will say I like I don't even remember what it was called, the crazy clown crew brew, whatever.
Yeah.
That was some damn good beer. I'll just say that. I'm always weary when I hear like, oh, they created a specialty beer because most of the time it's so. But that was fantastic.
I had like 5 of them.
Josh and Drew were mixing them.
Oh yeah, mixing the clown crew and whatever the hell the other one was. I can't remember the name of. But if you mixed them, it wasn't too bad.
No, it was terrible. Okay, Brian, you?
My favorite thing was seeing one of my favorite houses of all time come back and be even better than ever. Ghost Town. Oh, so good. So good.
That's awesome.
I agree. My favorite house
Can't
of all
believe
time.
nobody saw the guy's dick shot off. That's such a
I'm
bummer.
tempted to go back this weekend just to see this. Like, that sounds hilarious.
I think Owen in the chat room was mentioning earlier on, it's one of the people gets shot with a shotgun, and that's what the result was.
Hmm.
So,
It's
I say back off.
yes, that's the line. I couldn't remember the line that the woman said.
What?
Back off.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. The woman in front of the thing with the math that's wrong.
Oh, the math that's wrong? Did anybody catch the wrong math? It was like 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, and then at the bottom it was like 4 + 4 is 11, something stupid like that.
That's too advanced for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not paying attention to that. Okay, Kenny, what was your favorite thing?
Getting stuck in the Michael Meyer closet was incredible. Getting hit with a rubber axe was incredible. American Horror Story being awesome. Tomb was almost good enough to be my favorite. I had a blast. I'll say this about this event.
You loved everything.
I did. I really honestly did. Like, seriously, like, I don't, like, this might be blasphemy. I had more fun this year than last year. I thought this was a better event. I'm just going to say it. I had a lot more fun this year. So, but also don't ever underestimate the power of hanging out with friends at Halloween Horror Nights. I think maybe better than the event itself.
And,
Just like
and hanging
that-
out with people at Cheesums.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out to the
Chocolate bread.
we went to Tucson the first night I got there. That was great. But yeah, never underestimate the awesomeness of just hanging out, socializing. That was probably maybe my favorite part.
I think all of us, except for you and me, Kenny, I think all of us since our last time together have met each other in person.
I've not met Josh or Jen.
Nope.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I feel like after Kenny's Full House sob story, like an episode there, the cute moments there, I feel like it's perfect time to wrap it up. You know, it's like the Full House, they always wrap it up with some like kumbaya moment, but
Yeah, that was really sappy. I'm sorry, that was really sappy.
no, it's true. Like it's a lot. But like even when I went to Hollow Scream and I didn't do it in the house, this is just fun to hang out and drink some beers and take it all in. At the very least, you can.
If favorite things, though.
Yeah, we can't wrap up yet, Andrew.
Oh, by all means.
You're all excited for your one house.
Which was great.
Jen, what was your favorite?
My absolute favorite was American Horror Story. Like, just incredible. And seeing them switch casts, getting to see them in their little robes and cheer them on when they were leaving, that was just an incredible moment. I just loved everything about it. So.
I am tied, and both my moments involve Jen. Is one, watching her fall down in the Halloween house. It was awesome. But two, knowing that Jen was not a fan of haunted houses and stuff like that last year, getting her to go to Horror Nights last year, converting her into a fan of this, seeing her face and her smile throughout American Horror Story, that was just awesome. Like, sorry to sound cheesy as well, but I was so happy just to see her that happy. So, yeah. Plus that house was just fucking awesome, plain and simple.
Sappiness all around.
Yep.
No, I really do miss it. I'm so sad that this year is over. Like, I want to go back so bad.
Kenny, if we've not, for some reason, met by the next time the Horror Nights happens...
You guys need to plan trips better, all three of you.
Figure this out. I mean, I know I messed up the Philly-Pittsburgh situation, but besides that...
Well, I mean, we did Brian one weekend, then us, then Kenny. Like, that was bad planning.
Yeah, we need to figure this out and just go...
Speak for yourself. It worked out well for me. I saw all of you guys.
All three.
This is true.
So, for anyone that's still watching or anyone that is watching later on, I guess the five of us will reconvene early to mid-November to talk about...
Maybe like a month from now.
Yeah, to talk about everything else that we've done, independent events, Six Flags, Cedar Fairs, stuff like that.
Busch
Gardens, of course. We'll try to pick out. Well, we're not going to go as detailed, but we'll pick out highlights and stuff like that. So make your notes. Make sure you don't forget about them. And include you, Andrew.
I'm painting pumpkins this weekend. Does that count?
No, wait, you're painting pumpkins.
You're
That's
supposed
cheating.
to carve them.
Carve them.
Well, you can't carve them a week and a half early. They'll rot.
Well, then
That's if you're in Florida.
buy more pumpkins next week.
Put them in vinegar or something. There's some BuzzFeed something or other going around.
Oh.
Oh.
Andrew, you better be on the next episode.
I will just to insert commentary here and there.
Exactly.
All right.
I'm like the Muppets, Waldorf and Stanton. I just sit in the corner and belittle.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for watching, and if you've made it this far, you're freaking amazing. So
Yep.
thanks for sticking around and watching this. It was
I know.
fun.
I know Owen's used to 3 and 4 hour podcasts, so thank you for sticking around our 2.5 hour podcast. Appreciate that. And I guess we will see you guys all in about a month.
Yep.
See
Sounds
ya.
good.
All right. Take it easy. Have a good night, guys.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.